Hey everyone, this is going to be the first of at least a couple of videos, maybe three, for this credit recovery for the Unit 2 test items. They're pretty long. All right, or this test is pretty long. All right, so the first one we're going to do is this. So this says change into slope-intercept form. All right, so let's think about what our two change into slope-intercept form. All right, so we have two forms just in general. One looks like this, AX. This is your standard form. Okay, that's your standard form. And then your slope-intercept form is y equals mx plus b. And the big difference here is that the y is by itself here. All right, and here's our y right here. And so the difference in these two forms is that all of this other stuff goes over on the other side, and that gives you the slope and the y-intercept, which are very handy, as we know, for graphing. All right, and so now we get this problem, which says take this 2x, didn't say 2x, x plus 2, put this y by itself, y equals 16. All right, so we want this y to be by itself, so everything else has to be on the right side. So we're going to take this x, and we're going to have to take this 2. All right, and those two we're going to move to the right side. So we're going to move these over here. All right, and how we're going to do that? We're going to use our awesome algebra skills. That's how. So first we're going to subtract this x from this, and we're going to subtract x over here, and that's going to make our equation look like 2, keep this red y, equals negative x plus 16. Now I put the x first because I want this to be in slope-intercept form, and the x comes before. All right, and so the next thing we're going to do then is move this 2 to the right side by dividing by 2. All right, and this would be a minus x over 2, and this we can change to an 8. All right, so this is one way to write the answer. Another way to write the same answer is that. Okay, but I'm pretty sure that this answer will work. So let's try it. So we have y equals negative x divided by 2 plus 8. Submit answer. And yes, that tells us that's a good answer. Notice that later on they changed it to 1/2 also, but mathematically that's the same answer. All right. We are going to go to 3 properties. Okay, the 2 properties we need to really think about here are associative and commutative. All right, so we're going to look at the word associate here, all right, which means who are you hanging out with? So who do you hang out with? And then commute, which basically means to travel from one place to another. All right, and so let's look at, the other thing is that these work for addition. I'll put that up here in our little title for addition and multiplication. They don't work for division or its companion operation, subtraction. Okay, so these are properties of addition and multiplication. All right, so associative. All right, so let's look at associative. We have A plus B plus 4, and then, so the B's hanging out with the 4. B's done hanging out with the 4, goes and hangs out with the A, and so he changes who he associates with, right? So he now associates with this guy, and that's our associative. Okay, for multiplication, the same thing is true. We could write A times B times 4 and change that to A times B times 4, and that's also associative because the B changed who he was hanging out with, or she. All right, so that's our associative. Commutative, remember commute means to move one place to another. All right, and so let's start with the same idea, A times B plus 4, and this A is going to travel or commute, and he's going to commute to right here, and he is going to look like that. All right, so that's commute. Commute. All right, and it works for A plus B plus 4. These are all positive pluses, so he can commute over here and BB plus 4 plus A. All right, so that's our commutative property. And it's important to remember there's one for addition and one for multiplication. All right, now let's go look over here. And we have x plus 1 times 2 plus 3x. And line 2 says x plus 1 and 3x plus 2. All right, so what happened here? Did we change who we were associating with, or did we travel somewhere? Okay, well, the 2 and the 3 are still associating with each other. So the 3, x traveled here, and the 2 traveled there. All right, and so that's going to be, they commuted, they traveled. And we have addition. So line 1 to line 2 is going to be the commutative property of addition. All right, then what happened? Then 3x plus 2 and x plus 1. Okay, so did they change who they were hanging out with? No, they're still hanging out with the same people, but they traveled. This one traveled over here, and this one traveled over here. So they also commuted, but this time it's multiplication. So commutative property of multiplication, submit answer, yes, and we get a green check. All right. Next we have a multi-step literal equation. All right, so this multi-step literal equation is going to be very much like the first problem we had. Erase all. All right, so it says solve for A. All right, so we have a Q, and I put just like we put the Y by itself before, we're going to put the Q by itself or the A by itself this time. R squared times A equals M. Okay, so this Q and this R need to go to the right side. All right, so how are we going to do that? We want the A on this side. Well, if I look at this, I think the first thing I have to do is reverse distribution. Okay, so I have to take this A and multiply it times these two things. So I'm going to take this A and I'm going to put it out here in front like this, our reverse distribution, and I'm going to multiply it times Q plus R squared. Okay, so I took the A out and that equals M. All right, and then the second thing I'm going to do is I'm going to divide both sides by Q plus R squared. Okay, so that makes that a 1. And over here we have Q plus R squared. Okay, well, that wasn't too bad. Kind of messy. All right, let's put our answer in. ABCs, we get an M, wherever that is, M. And then go back to our number pad, divided. Then we have to go back to our letters here. So we have a Q. And back to plus. This is actually easier on the keyboard if you have a computer. Come back here to our R, wherever that is, there we go. And make it an R squared and submit our answer. So does that match our answer? Yes, it does. Submit answer, we get a green check. And they did it the same way we did it. All right, that was we're up to 12 minutes on this video, so I think we can do one more. A linear inequality. Actually, I think I'm going to do that as part of the next one. So that'll be it for this one.